Is the book correct, depicting the CIA having the authority to take over by claiming the issue is a national security matter? The FBI traditionally handles domestic law enforcement investigations.
And the director of security of the CIA has no such law enforcement authority, has no more law enforcement authority than you and I do to make a citizen's arrest. I liked him, yeah, he was very...
Peter Ernest spent 35 years with the CIA carrying out covert operations around the world. What he does find true in Dan Brown's book is the character's use of coded messages.
Well, codes and ciphers were very important in the CIA. All of our cable traffic to and from headquarters in the field was all encoded. When we recruited agents and ran them and we couldn't meet with them personally, we had to use what is called impersonal communication. All of that was written out and then put into code to go to the agent.
Real-life agents and case officers also communicated using secure telephones.
These are phones in which the conversation would be encrypted. And of course, that would be an automated form of encryption. You wouldn't be there sitting out, writing out code.
Another mystery featured in Dan Brown's book is Kryptos. The book claims this artwork exists on CIA grounds and that it is yet to be fully deciphered by an army of code breakers. Does such a thing exist? And who could have stumped the spy masters? Kryptos, which is a Greek word meaning hidden, was the brainchild of artist James Sanborn. In a rare television interview, Sanborn discusses his very real creation.
It seemed to me the best way to design an artwork for like a spy agency that would slowly unravel itself and maintain a level of interest.
In 1991, Sanborn unveiled Kryptos before a skeptical audience of spy masters. What they saw was a large sculpture featuring an S-shaped copper scroll emerging from what appears to be a computer printer. Covering the scroll was a complex encrypted text comprising nearly 1,800 figures divided into 4 sections.
I had studied archaeology for years and was fascinated by things hidden underground, and were laborious to uncover, but were fascinating when they were found. And so that whole process was the way I wanted Kryptos, a sculpture, to unfold.
Kryptos contains a riddle within a riddle, which will be solvable only after the 4 encrypted passages have been decrypted. So far, only 3 have been answered correctly.
I assumed that those first segments would be cracked in a matter of days, at the most weeks.
In fact, it took 9 years.
When I was at the agency, I was talking to other contractors, and he said, well, do you know that they come through here with neutron ground-penetrating radar after everything is done, and this heavy-duty radioactive equipment to try to look in the ground all around these areas?
Whether the clue refers to something buried in the ground, nobody really knows, and Sanborn isn't saying anything. The lost symbol depicts both an address and a puzzle referred to as Franklin Square. There is indeed a Franklin Square in Washington, D.C., and a puzzle does exist, created by Benjamin Franklin, also referred to as a magic square. In this ancestor to Sudoku puzzles, the numbers in the diagonal, horizontal, and vertical rows add up to the same number. But codes and ciphers have functions other than just tools for espionage. Secret handshakes identify strangers as friends. Combination locks protect valuables from thieves. And as the book describes, codes and ciphers are also said to guard the secret knowledge of mystics. In fact, the rumored original working title of the lost symbol referenced an ancient cryptic text known as the Key of Solomon.
The Key of Solomon is the name of a medieval manual, and these are keys in the sense that they're handbooks to ritual magic.
Over the years, many people claim to have deciphered the codes and mastered Solomon's black magic secrets. In the book, Dan Brown's villain is inspired by Aleister Crowley, a man who claimed to have deciphered the secrets of the Key of Solomon. Such a man really did exist.
Aleister Crowley, one of the most famous figures in ritual magic in the 20th century. is quite accurately depicted. The purpose for that is basically to gain power. It's his desire and his objective to become a dark god over demons. That's what he wants to do with the power that he hopes to get through his ritual observance.
In the late 1800s, Crowley gained notoriety by using Solomon-influenced amulets and talismans in sex and drug-fueled occult rituals. Crowley also traveled the world lecturing and writing books detailing his mystical and astrological secrets. Church officials considered Crowley a heretic and labeled him the wickedest man in the world. Black magic rituals are only one of the dark passages within Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol. Secret conspiracies play another critical role, including one threatening to tear apart the fabric of our nation. In Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, the villain believes that once he attains the highest level of Masonry, all of their secrets will be revealed to him. Could one of them be the belief that Masons become gods, like George Washington's image in the ceiling of the Rotunda?
I was utterly stunned to see all the stuff about apotheosis, the idea of, people becoming gods. I should tell you that is not something that we teach in Freemasonry. It's not against Masonic teaching, it's just that's not something we happen to say.
Dan Brown seems to have borrowed the idea from the Mormon religion.
It's a central aspect of Latter-day Saint doctrine that individuals, if they make covenants with God of a certain nature, in a certain place, by a certain authority, and then live up to them, at some point after death, can be elevated to the status of godhood. And that's part of the human inheritance. That's what God says when he says, I make you joint inheritors with Christ.
This controversial doctrine has raised a few eyebrows, but the belief dates back to the early Christians.
In the early days of the Christian church, you would find statements by prominent leaders saying things like, God became man so that man could become God. There are only so many ways to understand that. So the ancient doctrine of apotheosis has come around again. Now, of course, Dan Brown puts his own spin on this thing.
Another central theme in The Lost Symbol is the belief in a Masonic conspiracy. Several of Professor Langdon's students speak of rumors that the Masons are secretly running the world. Their suspicions are not surprising because conspiracy theories are as American as apple pie.
There's a lot of conspiracy theories because by nature, human beings are also suspicious. Some people are more prone to want to know and want to explain and want to resolve something that doesn't make sense to them. Conspiracy is one of those ways to bridge the difference.
Some conspiracy theories have become so widespread that people don't know what to believe.
And at this point, anyone who believes that Oswald acted alone is considered the nutcase, not the conspiracist. The conspiracists are considered to have the real story.
In The Lost Symbol, Brown's conspiracy theory focuses on the Masons.
Freemasons have been probably the world's favorite target of conspiracists. I don't think there's a group that you could name that has endured more slings and arrows from, if you Google Freemasons and start plowing through the sites. They have been accused of being behind the Holocaust. They have been accused of being a force for Jewish conspiracy and a force for money conspiracy.